This is 49. A lot of wisdom, a lot of years, a lot of moments. I think wisdom is the one thing that I've learned is so valuable. They say age is just a number, but I don't believe that. Age means you've had, experiences, knowledge, been around people, observed. But I think it takes a lot to apply that wisdom because, when you meet something and you want something and you're like, oh, I'm seeing red flags. What do I do? Do I act on that? And I pull, the ripcord. Or do I try and convince myself this time it's going to be different? How many times can you say that to yourself? But I think you need to have a sincerity and an honesty about you and what you want and what your vision is. And sometimes you're going to have to make those hard choices. And the people that show up for you, those are the ones that really count. And watch and observe and see how they show up for you, because everybody shows up different. Not everybody's going to show up at the same time or the way you think of it, but pay attention. That's love.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Davis, and I want to welcome you to the Ultimate Brand Design channel, From Why to Wow. My guest today is Maria Angelica Alvarado. She's from Miami,
Nailed
Florida.
It again, Charles. You nailed the name again.
You just don't know. I've been sitting up here practicing that name. It's like, that's a whole lot. Anyway, I came across Maria Angelica on LinkedIn, and I have some notes here on her. I'll bring them up. It says, Maria Angelica Alvarado, the go-to business dev analyst, teaching and sharing insider tips and tricks to catapult your career growth. Bilingual English-Spanish, are you a coffee bean? My personal motto, ask me why. Yes. And these are some notes. These are some notes I took from you. I said, when we made this arrangement, I said, let me see what would fit this woman. This is what I learned. You were learning to bake. I decided to try my luck at baking sourdough bread. My goal was wow, you made this. One word, humbling. Baking is a science. There's a chemical reaction taking place. So I looked back at our messaging and it said, I asked her, would you like to be on my YouTube channel? Her response was, I would love it. Let's do it. I'm in this saying yes to opportunities that push me out of my comfort zone. And so I'm going to start the conversation, leaving it up to Maria Angelica. How are you? And tell us about you.
Oh, how am I? I am doing well. I am a blessed person. I believe that a lot of us meet great people. I love the platforms we're on now. I love the fact that you are in the Philippines. I am the US. And we're able to 12 hours apart. It's morning for me, evening for you. And we're able to have a conversation and just connect. And I think that this is an incredible time to be alive, an incredible time to do business, an incredible time to make connections globally. There's nothing negative going on. There really isn't. I think you have to focus on the good in life. And I've made that a big cornerstone of who I am. So that's in a nutshell.
Right. So explain your LinkedIn profile. What does all that stuff mean?
Great question. So business development, it's a fancy way for saying leveling up your sales techniques and your sales strategies. I was a financial advisor for almost 10 years. And you think of a way of how do you differentiate yourself from your competitors? For me, it was, what are people not doing, right? They weren't networking. They weren't developing center of influences. You decide what market you want to be a financial advisor to. A lot of people start with families and individuals and things like that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go after the business owner. I think that they need a lot of advising when it comes to their future, their finances, their exit strategies. But then how do you break into that market? Like, what do? You start developing kind of like reverse engineering. Like, who do I need on my team? So my team was a really good, bunch of accountants that if someone says to me, my business, I've been doing it this way, but now I need a CPA. Do you know someone? I wanted to have that pool of CPAs that I can say, yeah, sure. What kind? Do they need to be bilingual? What's your business model? What else do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of them didn't have estate planning, and that's an integral part of financial advising. And so I needed to go out and meet estate planning attorneys that are local to my area. Again, a diverse pool, different interests, different skill sets, different specialties, all within the estate planning world when it comes to legal services. And I realized that everything else, once people started coming to me as their go-to for
Okay.
resources, that
Okay.
became my network.
Okay.
And that's a very different way of doing business. I have a guy. I tell people all the time, I have a lady that can help you. Sometimes someone wants a new marketing twist. I'm like, you know what? I have someone that has great ideas. Do you want to meet them? And then you
Mm-hmm.
grow your network that way. That's business development. You become a relationship specialist. So yes, I still do financial advising, but if someone says to me, you know what? I'm having an issue with my lease. Do you need an attorney that handles that for you? Yeah, but where do I begin to look for one? I got two or three that I can introduce you to. Why? Because I've developed my network out. And that's
Okay.
business development. So then it's kind of like it's really great for business to business because
Mm-hmm.
it's all about those relationships with other businesses and other business owners. And it's become a way of life for me. It sounds crazy, but you then you develop all these resources, you make all these great connections. You start realizing that it's not just your local network. You start networking online through Zoom, you start networking online through LinkedIn. Then all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden you get a call from a friend that says, I need someone in California. My dad out there is having an issue. Do you know someone? And then you go into your network, and I go to my
Okay.
trusted sources and I'm like, I need someone out in California. Do you know someone out in, yeah, they're like, yeah, I can put you in contact with someone. And
Okay.
then I reach out to that person. I'm like, listen, they're a little far from you. Do you have someone more south or more north or closer to this city?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, yeah. And then it's this integral network of like resources. And then you start referring business back and forth to each other, and it's a
Okay.
trusted source, and your
Okay.
deals become bigger because no one wants, like, the small deals you find doing day-to-day things. The big deals, they come
Yes.
to you through relationships,
Right.
and I teach those skill sets. And the other component of that is public speaking as
Mm-hmm.
well as workshops. A lot of people want, they fish with a pole. I'm a believer in fishing with a net. So I want to get a room of like 20 business owners, and
Yeah.
I tell them, listen, have you guys thought about these 5 business models? And we go through a presentation, and then they get to see that I know what I know, and then they want to
Yes.
work with me.
Okay. Hold it just a minute. There is something that I would like to do that really speaks to this. Let's see if I still have it. All right.
This is 49. A lot of wisdom, a lot of years, a lot of moments. I think wisdom is the one thing that I've learned is so valuable. They say age is just a number, but I don't believe that. Age means you've had, experiences, knowledge, been around people, observed. But I think it takes a lot to apply that wisdom because, when you meet something and you want something and you're like, oh, I'm seeing red flags. What do I do? Do I act on that? And I pull, the ripcord. Or do I try and convince myself this time it's going to be different? How many times can you say that to yourself? But I think you need to have a sincerity and an honesty about you and what you want and what your vision is. And sometimes you're going to have to make those hard choices. And the people that show up for you, those are the ones that really count. And watch and observe and see how they show up for you, because everybody shows up different. Not everybody's going to show up at the same time or the way you think of it, but pay attention. That's love.
Okay. Surprised? Hello.
No, I posted it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
My
That
birthday
was
was on Friday. I turned 49.
all right. Happy birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Thank
And
you.
when I was reviewing your LinkedIn post, you talked about being authentic, personable, vulnerable, right? Okay, now I noticed that you went to uh, school in Florida. What was that like for you?
Girl through and through. We moved here from Nicaragua when I was 7 years old. And I was having this conversation with someone. I've tried moving away. I grew up here, went to school here, went to like university here. It's my community, it's my world. It's so diverse. You have just about any culture here in South Florida. And then I'm like, I need a change. Let me go do something else. And to be honest with you, Charles, nothing compares to South Florida. I've tried moving away to Georgia, Texas, Arizona, New York, New Jersey. The minute the plane lands back in South Florida, I'm home. And that feeling is so warm. And so for me, being going to school here in Miami, I have long-standing relationships in the community.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have people that I can pick up the phone for and be like, "Hey, I need an advice about this." And I think that that's what community speaks to. You can have a
Okay.
worldwide community like ourselves, but
Hmm.
then you have your local community where it's like you can pick up the phone and be like, "Let's go have lunch. I haven't seen you in a while. Are you available for coffee? I'm in your area." And 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 Florida has this warmth about it that is unique to it. So I love being a South Florida girl. Always been.
Well, you brought up an interesting point, and this is something I saw in your profile. You're from what country?
Nicaragua.
Okay. What was that transition like? Because I noticed uh, Maria Angelica Alvarado, that's Latin. I
Yeah,
assume, if I'm wrong, you probably are Catholic.
I am Catholic.
Okay, and then the other part is being an immigrant, having to make that
Yes.
transition. What was that like?
I did it so young. I kind of didn't have much of a transition because you were always in this bubble,
Hmm.
with your community, your family. You're all Hispanic, you're all in the same.
Right.
And then you'd leave that bubble when you'd go to school.
Hmm.
But it all depends on what part of South Florida you grow up in. You're still with other immigrants and you're still in kind of that still same bubble.
Hmm.
Um, so you really don't feel a much of a change. You still hear your native language of Spanish being spoken in the streets and things like
Hmm.
that. But then you start integrating when I went to middle school to an more Americanish school
Hmm.
where you don't want to be different. You don't want to be Hispanic. You don't want to speak Spanish. You want to only
Hmm.
speak English. You immerse
Yeah.
yourself in that world. And so that's why I really don't have a Spanish accent in my English. Sometimes my colloquialism is a little off, but not much. So you then become immersed in the American culture, which could be but then the immigration is still there because it could be someone who's Polish or someone whose family came in from Israel
Hmm.
or someone who is, let's say, Jamaican or something like that. So we still have that. I will say it's really tough to find pure like Americans down here in South Florida that are like
Okay.
just American or maybe third generation Italian, third generation Irish, third generation Polish. But for the most part, one way or another, we still have that immigration kind of connection amongst all
Okay.
of us. And then of course, I always tell people I grew up in dual worlds because I would go home and my world was all Spanish, food, music, hanging out, events, and then I'd go back to school and then it'd be all
Hmm.
American, English, sports, football,
Hmm.
and this is duality of your personality that just emerges naturally.
Hmm.
Um, and I go to other parts of the country. Like I've gone to Arkansas for training, and that's a very Southern American. And all of a sudden, they're like, your English is different. Yes, it's my
Yeah.
vowel sounds. I'm from
Yeah.
Miami. There's that vowel sound from my Spanish. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you have your Southern accent. I have my vowel sounds,
Yes.
So we still have that.
Now I want you brought up that transition of, well, I'm in a Spanish-speaking family. I'm going into an Americanized environment, but you still have the empathy with other immigrants.
Yeah.
However, you and I have this similarity of being the only one. Have you ever felt like it's like, wow, I'm the only one? I'm the only one from Nicaragua. I'm the only one that speaks Spanish. I'm in this here group of people, but I'm the only one. Go
That
ahead.
happened to me when I was living in San Francisco.
Go.
So in early 2000, I moved to San Francisco,
Ooh.
and I
Ooh.
was the only Spanish speaking in like a company of 25.
Right.
Everybody else, the demographic was different. It was Asian, there was Korean, there was Japanese, there were Chinese,
Uh-huh.
but and then there were some that were American, but I was the only Spanish speaking person there, and it was the difference. I went from Spanish being so commonly heard all around me that I knew what people were saying, to
Right.
now I'm immersed in this world where a lot of my colleagues are speaking either Japanese or Chinese, or they're speaking Filipino, as a matter of fact. And
Uh-huh.
you're like, I am the only Spanish speaking person here.
Right.
And that was like a real shift in my perspective.
So how did
Yeah.
you fit into those type of corporate company environments?
Food. Food
Huh?
is what ties every culture together.
You bribed them with food, okay?
I did. I love food. So, you know what? There's somebody there that was Japanese, and she was authentic Japanese. She had just come in from Japan like less than 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I love sushi, and I love documentaries, and I would ask her about it. And for one of my
Okay.
birthdays, she surprised me with a bento box, a homemade bento box that she
Ooh.
cooked for me, authentic Japanese food, and I'll never forget it. She brought it wrapped in this beautiful scarf, and she's like, Maria Angelica, I brought you something, and it was this beautiful lunch box, like a bento box,
Uh-huh.
and I was so humbled by that because I had shown an interest in her culture and her food, but not normal. I wanted the give me the insider information, and that was really great. So food has always been how I break down boundaries, and we get to talking because Filipino or Indonesian or Chinese, or I want to know what you eat. I want to try it. I am an adventurous culinary person, so yeah, I won't do balut though. That I won't do.
Oh, no, 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 no. I saw that. It's
I
like,
won't.
no, 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 no. My friend of mine, he did that. I was like, you actually ate that? My friend William lives here in Purdue. He's married to a Filipino. And she said, well, you got to try balut. And he did it on YouTube. And he lives, right down a couple of blocks down. I couldn't believe he did that. We actually did
Can't
a
believe he
YouTube
did
video
either.
about it. I was like, oh no, 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 no. My stomach would really, be mad at me if I did that. Because see,
I couldn't. So
I'm from Chicago. It's a food town, restaurants. I'm really from the Midwest, but I really like the diversity of food. Uh,
hmm
See, that's the same. I went to a Catholic university, so coming out of African American world, and then coming into that European Caucasian world, I've
yeah.
always been the only one, and there's a sense of loneliness. It's a sense of loneliness that you have to deal with, and so that's what I wanted us to get into what it's like to be the only one, having to perform at a level that we have to be better.
I will tell you, so funny you mentioned that. I am a math and science girl. So when I went to university, my first major was math.
Okay.
And I was practically maybe one of two girls in all my classes that in higher level maths, differential
Mm-hmm.
equations and everything. The higher the math level went, the less and less female population was there.
Right.
And
Right.
at one point in one of my classes, I think it was only me and two other girls that were in this class. And out of the three of us, I was the only Hispanic one. The rest were Asian. And it was a
Oh.
unique, yeah, it was a unique experience
Yeah.
because these guys didn't know how to talk to me. They're like all in their cerebral minds, and I have personality, and I'm like asking like, who wants to be my partner? We need to work on this math problem together, and this and that, and it was like I was the only one in that sense, but it was a collegiate environment, experience. I didn't have food then, it's not like work that we can then discuss
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it was by the book, like showing what I got up here to be able to like bridge that gap.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the gender, there's the personality, there's,
Right.
it didn't matter about the language. Everything is English and, math. And but it was, you know, I don't fit the mold for someone who's in the math and science field because I have personality. And that's what I got told. They're like, you talk too much. I'm like, I love this, but I have a personality. I like other things too. So university was interesting that way until I realized math wasn't for me, and I did
I
computer
figured as much
programming.
as not for you.
Yeah, I did computer programming after because I was still in the sciences and I knew technology was going to be the wave of the future. This was early 90s or mid
Okay.
90s.
Okay.
And again, I was the only girl doing
Yeah.
coding.
And you didn't
This
like
was before it became cool. And I was
it.
coding with these guys.
Yeah.
And again, they're a little socially awkward. I'm
Yeah, we
not. And
are.
I
That's
started getting
true.
them.
That's
Yeah,
true.
the coders are socially awkward, and here I am, I'm not. And we got them
Mm-hmm.
to talk and everything, and it was just it was an interesting part. There's been a lot of factors in my life that I've been the only one, but I guess within all of those, I find a way to bridge that divide and make myself part of it. So instead of seeing it as a hindrance, I see it more of as an opportunity to discover and learn something new from whomever's in front of me. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So
Okay.
when I was out in San Francisco, it was about the food, and
Uh-huh.
then I'd love to go to Chinatown and
Ooh, wait.
Japantown,
Yes. Ooh. In San Francisco?
and it was,
Ooh.
yeah, I'd go with my
Ooh.
coworkers. Yeah,
Oh.
I'd go into these like real Chinatown places where they had to order for me because no one spoke English, and I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah. So
So,
I would love to show you my collection of Buddhas over here because I'm really into Asian culture. That's part of the reason I'm here. Chicago has a beautiful Chinatown, one of my
yeah.
favorite places that I used to like to go. And so I see that. Uh, but being a STEM person, you tried to go into math and science, but you found out it wasn't for you.
I couldn't see myself coding in front of a computer all the time.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah. Why?
use it's it's one dimension. Like you're in front of a computer all the time. It's not the same. Um, so for me, what ended up happening, my degree is in management information systems. It's a
Okay.
hybrid between business and technology. I know enough
Okay.
about technology to speak to it, but I can have
Hmm.
regular conversations with people, you know?
Right. Right.
It's almost like you're a translator. The people in business don't understand technology, and the technology people
Hmm.
really can't simplify it for the layman's in the business world, you know?
Yes.
And you have
Yes.
this wonderful gray area called management information systems, which is where I
Hmm.
decided was my home.
Okay.
And funny enough, I graduated from that and I went into financial advising. So I didn't even use my degree.
Yes, you did. You used
I
the
went into
background
finance.
knowledge. You found out
You
what
know
you
what it
love to do.
did?
What?
Charles, what it did is that it allowed me to reverse engineer things.
So you're still a
My
programmer.
my huh? Yes,
Reverse engineering, that's a programming mindset.
it is.
Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
also, um, it allows me to see things in a 3D manner and
Mm-hmm.
problem solve. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, they tend to see it only one way, and I take off my peripheral vision because I remember when I was in coding, I thought the problem was here and it was actually further up on the coding program.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So you have to sometimes take a step back and see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a different kind of problem solver. I kind of step back and I look and I'm like, what do I have to do to get from point A to point B?
Right.
Maybe there's a C, but then that takes me to F, and I want to really get to F, and I don't want to go through the rest of the letters. So how
Mm-hmm.
do I find my fast path? How do I find that little gateway that gets my solution faster? And that's where I'm
Mm-hmm.
different than a lot of business development people, because when I go out to network, I go in with a game plan of what I want to do
Mm-hmm.
and what's the fastest way and how do I leverage to get to my end game.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my end game could be getting people to go to one of my workshops, and I want to be able to do that. So how do I get people to get, so I go around their people and I get them involved, and then I get them to invite more people, and then I ask their help to help fill a room for me
Mm-hmm.
to have a successful workshop. So it's a problem solving, it's a reverse engineering, it's
Mm-hmm.
all like analytical, and yet I have
Mm-hmm.
a personality. Go figure.
No, you hit on some very valid points. Techies, we are introverts by nature, and we are socially awkward. I've had to work on that. Um, Plus other issues from my childhood, the death of my mom. There are things in our upbringing that affect us.
Yeah.
Everybody, everybody.
Yeah.
But I want to give you a moment right now. Give me your 5 minute pitch.
5 minute or 30-second pitch?
Take your pick. Because this is what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to take it. It's going to become a YouTube short. And it's going to be the intro to this here version of your video. So what would you tell somebody? This is your chance.
So I'm Maria Angelica Alvarado with Luminary Catalyst LLC. I teach people how to well, how do I say this? I teach people how to demystify the world of networking. How do you set up your strategic alliances? How do you go about filling that room for workshops that you want to do? And how do you develop the proper content that will resonate with the business owners? Because in the end of the game, you want to develop your business and get sales out of that and increase your revenue. But how you get that, sometimes you have to reverse engineer that. And you're able to then successfully meet your end game. So that is what I do in business development strategy.
Okay. Now, we have been going for 27 minutes. And I told you, I have a special, yeah, this is easy. This is easy.
This is the easy part.
No, this is it. This is it. I this is what happened when I was looking at your profile and I saw that you're in Miami, Florida. Do you know what Florida is really famous for?
Our
It
oranges.
well, prior oranges was always there. However, from my era, uh, age group, it is the winter headquarters for the Ringling Circus in Sarasota,
That's
Florida.
right.
Check
That's
it
what we
out.
have. We have one of their major museums here.
Yes, yes. Now, here's the trick. There are 5 most dangerous acts. As a matter of fact, your catapult, that was one of them. That was people that get shot out of cannon. I wish I'd have seen that. I'd have sprung this on. But this is what I thought about. One of the most dangerous acts is the trapeze.
Yes.
While single and double somersaults are pretty standard tricks on the flying trapeze, a triple is so dangerous that Italian flyers once called it sotto mortale, the deadly leap. The danger lies in the fact that the feat must be accomplished at such high speed that the brain loses track of its place in space, making it difficult for the flyer to regain their sense and know it's time to reach out to the catcher. Now I
Wow.
read that. Yeah. I when I was younger, there was a movie with Burt Lancaster, Tony Curtis, and it was
Uh-huh.
called Trapeze with Gina Lollobrigida. And Tony Curtis wanted to learn the triple from the only living man that had survived a fall. Because usually when they fall, they die. Even when they hit the net, if they hit the net and they're unconscious,
Really?
yes, they hit the net and it'll toss them out if they're unconscious. And then they hit the ground and they get messed up anyway. Are you ready to?
Fun fact.
There's a reason for this. There's a story for you. Remember?
I
Now,
love a
are
good
you ready?
story.
Are you ready for your to learn a triple?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was real interesting that you just before this interview, you experienced a death in your family.
Did.
Okay? Who was that person? How did it affect you? What were the people in your life that planted those seeds in Maria Angelica?
So the death in my family was my godmother and aunt. She's my mom's eldest sister. She was the most kindness, the most thoughtful, the most loving, understanding, empathetic woman I have ever met. She will find the good in everyone. If she can help you, she would help you. If she couldn't help you, she'd find a way to help you by any way, any means possible. And I'll be forever connected with her because we honored her with her mass and her burial on my birthday. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, she was laid to rest on my birthday, which was Friday.
On your birthday. Do you see the spirituality of that?
Oh, do I ever? But
Yeah.
it's a
Come on.
perfect connection with her.
Hmm. Don't stop there.
I
I
know.
told you. Come on.
I know. I know. And I'm doing it because I think a lot of us need to resonate and honor those around us. And when something like that happens, I don't see the sadness. I am humbled that of all the days, that of all the times available, my godmother, whom was one of the biggest, like one of my biggest cheerleaders,
Yes.
my biggest like since I was little, will be forever connected. I'm so happy to share that day with her. And it was like the most beautiful thing to like people were telling me, I am so sorry. It's your birthday. We're at church. And I said to them, no, this is not
Oh.
my day. This is my aunt's day. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
blessed to share it with her. And it was
Mm-hmm.
such an incredible connection. So for me, it's like I'm not sad about it. People were like, oh my God, your birthday. I'm like, no, no, no. It's a celebration. I got to see
Yes.
more family that she brought together for my day, our day now, and it's our day. And I got to see family from Nicaragua. I got to see family from Orlando. Family came in from out of town, and I got to see them on her behalf, but she shared that with me. And that is
Now,
like an incredible opportunity.
now I want you to notice something. Do
What?
you know what? Do you know what a Freudian slip is?
What? Oh, of course.
Yeah. You said my day. When you look back at it, you said she shared my day, and it was almost like a spiritual connection to Maria Angelica.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't. I don't see uh, that since those incidences are coincident, they're actually planned by something else.
Agreed.
And
Agreed. It's a higher power. Absolutely. Absolutely.
because you pointed out the one thing I wanted in Buddhism, they talk about karma, but karma talks about the seeds that were planted in your spirit that you don't know about. And she planted something in little Maria Angelica's spirit as a child. What was that
Yes.
like?
Amazing. She taught me, like, I would go to her house, would go visit, and she'd always have amazing food. She was one of those that, an amazing chef, amazing home cook. And it's always been something that was a connection. That's one of the reasons why I say food connects us all. It's a comfort thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
when someone cooks for you, it's an act of love. When someone shares with you, it's an act of love. When someone shares with you, it could be just a bridge that then you can build on and cross over together. So that was my aunt. My aunt, you couldn't compliment something at her house because she'd already be offering it to you. And if you took something for her, she'd find a way to kind of give something back to you within a short amount of time. That generosity of spirit, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
in a comment, an act, or something, it's been part of my life forever. So again, at the end, she gave me a chance to see family members that I hadn't seen in a long time. So
Right.
even in her death, her generosity, her community, her like sense of bringing people together and belonging was there. It's divine in many ways. Yeah,
Keyword: we all have a divine nature, and some people can let it shine. Some people it is damaged by environmental issues, things that they have had to experience and have not recovered from.
yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted, and I really want to thank you for what you shared, because the interviews that I'm having, they all end up like this. Just like what you did, I got some other ones that I just did. And that third level, when we go there, that's what the ultimate brand design challenge is about.
It
It
is.
is about it is I mean, and that is what the channel is about. Maria Angelica, I want to thank you so much for learning to take that triple. You made it.
You got to give it a shot. I
Yeah.
always tell people, I started my own business, and a friend of mine asked me, "So what made you do it?" And I said to her, "There have been three times in my life that I have put myself in a situation to challenge myself. The first one was when I went rappelling, and I climbed the
Ooh,
top of this huge mountain, and I
been
said,
there, done that.
I'm going to be
Ooh,
rappelling."
ooh.
And you get to the edge, Charles,
Yes.
and you're putting on the harness, and you're like,
Yes.
"Do I back out?" You can always back out, right? You can
Yeah,
always
you
back out.
can. You
And I said,
can.
"No, this is what I'm here for. This is where I
Yeah.
got myself mentally ready for." The second time was when I went skydiving.
Ooh.
And you
Not
can
doing
always
that one.
back out. I went skydiving, and you're there watching the videos, and they're telling you could die. the
Yeah.
you're doing it in tandem. You're attached to an expert, but
Mm-hmm.
something can still happen, and you can still die.
Yes. Yes.
So until you're putting on the suit, you're walking to the plane, you can pull out at any time. And I said to myself, this is what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
The third time was last January, not this year, but 2023, when I went up in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, to a waterfall, 17 feet in the air. And you look down because the only way down is to jump into the pool of water at the bottom of that waterfall.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, this is the worst one of them all, because in all of them they had a soft landing. You know, you're attached to equipment, you're attached to an expert. This was me with like a little life vest jumping into the pool of water where you have to jump. And I said to myself, this is what I'm here for. I am not backing out. And
Yes.
this is my purpose. And I jumped 17 feet in the air. At the bottom was this pool of water, and I landed. You never touch the bottom. That's how deep it is. And then I remember coming up and gasping for air for the first time. And I'm like, I did it. So I think you have to challenge yourself to do different things in life, to create those moments where you're like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm doing. So when I opened up my business, I have that sense, the same feeling of, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here for. Right. And teaching people how to do the skills.
Okay. I can identify with that repelling thing. I was in training to be Green Beret, and they took me to Denver, to the condo school. Ooh, that was, I didn't want to let myself down. You know, I just couldn't. It took me a minute to do it. But when I did it, it's like, oh, this is nothing. And so I'm going high up in the mountain. And then I go higher and higher. And then I'm at the tallest one. And I'm coming down on the rope. And my harness comes loose right on the mountain. And it's like, it's calm. I just scooted over. I found a little place to sit down, retie everything. And I came on down. I took that harness off. And I ain't never did that again. It's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that again. That was close enough. I did it.
Them again. Charles, you said it right. Once was enough. Notice I did not repeat the experience again. I'm not gone rappelling again. I've not jumped out of a plane again. No more waterfalls.
Okay, Maria Angelica. Is there anything you want to leave this audience with?
I think it's good to know what I mean by my coffee bean story.
Yes, thank you. Am I a coffee bean?
So, why do I say be a coffee bean, right? And it goes back to a story I heard years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And I think it changes the mindset of people. So there's this granddaughter belly aching to her grandmother that there's some stuff going on in her life that's adversarial and she's not happy about it, whatever. Her grandmother takes her into the kitchen and she goes, come with me. She puts 3 boiling pots of water on the stove. And she takes, in one she puts a carrot. In the other one she puts the egg. On the third she puts coffee grinds. And she waits some time and she says, okay, take the stuff out. And she goes, okay. Granddaughter goes and takes everything out. She goes, well, what happened to the egg? And she goes, well, the egg started out fragile and now it's hard boiled. Okay, what happened to the carrot? Carrot was hard and now, you know, after being in the boiling water, it got soft. What happened to the coffee beans? Nothing. They made coffee. She goes, exactly. All 3 elements faced the same adversarial conditions. 2 of them, it changed their properties. The coffee changed the environment.
Okay.
And I thought, that is amazing. I will be a coffee bean. So instead of my environment changing me, I changed my environment for the better.
Okay. There was something else. There's something else that I was reading in your information. It was about time and coaching. And you talk about a mindset shift. When we coach someone, when you coach someone, they are actually buying time. Because if they try to figure out themselves, it will take them longer. So by you coming in, you save them time. And that is the most valuable asset, because the less time you need to get to your goal, the sooner you get to your success.
Exactly. It
That's
is,
the mindset shift.
and that's the leveraging part. That is
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite words in the English language is leverage. How do you
Mm-hmm.
leverage time? Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you something. I know I can go and find a way to change my oil, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time figuring that
Mm-hmm.
out when there's already people that are experts of it.
Right.
I'm the
Right.
same way. So if I need to know something, so it goes back to being in business development. I have friends, part of my community, business community, personal community, that are
Mm-hmm.
subject matter experts in what they know. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever I have a question, I call on them
Right.
to give me that leverage of time. I don't need to learn it. They already did. They're sharing it with me. And
Right.
it's funny, back to my bread making.
Mm-hmm.
Since I've posted that on LinkedIn, I also posted that on my personal Instagram.
Okay.
Four of my friends have reached out to me, and I didn't know this. They're all bread makers too. And they're like, listen, if you need a starter help, I got you. If you need this, I got you. Have you tried this? I got you. All my
Uh,
friends I didn't know this. Now there's a subculture within my community of bread makers, and now we're all in this together.
right. Right.
And they're helping me get better at being a baker. And that goes back to telling people what you want, what your passions are, what your interests are,
Right.
because they're all happy to share knowledge. And it goes back to that leveraging your connections, your friendships. Everybody wants to share what they know.
Yes.
You just have to open the door for them to do it. And then you share in that experience together. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what builds something that could be on the peripheral level, a deeper connection. It goes back to being authentic. It goes back to having strong connections that are like on a foundational level that now you can, doesn't matter how different you are. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter that you come from different backgrounds, cultures, whatever. When you connect at that foundational level, it's a uniting element. It is a catalyst change that happens amongst people. And it goes back to the name of my company, Luminary Catalyst, because you're illuminating a path, you're showing something different, but what you're creating is a change that just changed the properties of the situation that will never be the same again.
Absolutely fabulous. Do you know what your brand personality is?
No. What do you mean by
Have
my
you
brand
ever-
personality?
We attract people based on our personality. And you talked about reverse engineering, adventurism, actually the personality types. I saw sage because you have wisdom. Remember you talked
Oh,
about the wisdom, and so I saw the adventuresome nature. So you're innovator. That's a leadership quality, and these are the attributes that attract people to your brand.
well,
It's
thank
it's
you. I
it's a
appreciate that.
it's a psychological thing. That's what I do. But then people have these obstacles that, like we talked about, um, what was your auntie, your grandmother?
Yes, my godmother,
Okay,
aunt, yes.
okay. Just like she could plant a positive seed, I run into clients who have been planted a negative seed.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, because for instance, if you tell a child you're not gonna be no good, and you do that during their development stages, they're gonna believe you, and they're gonna live it out.
Yeah.
And so when I go to strategy coaching, I see this all the time. I say, okay, I had, like you said, um, I was diagnosed as an introvert, so I had to take the steps to become what is called an ambivert. I'm not really an introvert. That's the wrong label. It's just that I'm socially awkward, and you can learn to get out of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have spent a beautiful time here. It has been
Yeah.
49 minutes. Don't go
Thank
anywhere.
you for your generosity and your time.
Hey, no problem. Hold on. I'm gonna stop the recording.